Hello, my lovelies. Nice one. Right. I'm just going to get down to the nitty-gritty here straight away. One of those quick request little videos. Today I am fitting the stand on this Lambretta TV 175 Series 2. And it's slightly different than the normal Series 2 in the fact that this is the late Series 2. So it's exactly the same if you're fitting it to your Series 3. So I thought I'd give you a rundown on that. First thing to do is on stands. This is an aftermarket stand, by the way. The original one was bent to hell, and they're so cheap that there's no point trying to straighten them out, to be honest. First thing you have to do is clear up the groove where the spring fits, both on the stand and maybe I have to move up the camera a little bit. There you go. And on where the stand lug or the spring lug on the frame itself. Right. So first thing I need to, when you've done that, the reason why I'm babbling and I'm trying to do this fast is that I have my stand feet in a cup of boiling hot water, because obviously that's the first thing I like to do. And the reason why I have these in boiling hot water, you don't really need to, is just it gives me a little bit of wiggle room so that I can line up the hole in the stand here with the hole on the boot, so it enables me to fit the roll pins easier. So let's have a look. Let's have a look if I can get this on. So this is boiling hot water, and should really now just be able to slide it on quite easily. And because it's a little bit pliable, it should give me some wiggle room. So to make sure that I have lined that up correctly, I put a thin screwdriver in there. There you go. And I'm slightly off skew, like so. So that should be lined up with the hole. Let's have a look. Sort of. It's a little bit lower, so I have to press it on a little bit more. That's annoying. It's like 10 miles off. Yep, so that's lined up. I'll do the same with the other side. Squeeze it on. See if I could line up the hole. The hole is lined up. Nice one already. You have to sort of give them a bit of a stretch. They're quite hard, hence the hot water. Then you have the roll pin. Insert the roll pin down there. Now, if you've got loads of paint in the hole on the stand, clean that up as well before you get as far as I've got now. But this one was actually masked off, unbelievably. And then just knock it into place. Something it doesn't want to do. Do I have to put it on my bench to knock it in? So maybe. Well, one of them went in really easy, and this one was being a bit of a pain, so I had to boil some more water and sort of stretch it over so that I could get the hole to line up with the hole on the boot. But once you've got it moving, it's actually quite easy to knock this in. There you go. That's enough. Just flush with the end there. The fundamental difference between the Series 3 and late Series 2 and the Series 1 and 2 is the fact that on the late Series 2 and the Series 3, you just have one hole where you attach the stand and the splash plate. On the Series 1 and 2, you have 4 screws. On the Series 3s, I like to use a strengthening plate, which I believe is something that came on the later models, but not this one. And instead of mucking around, I sort of just buy these stainless items from MB. And while I was at it, I bought stand bolts, also from MB. Now, you obviously can go down to your hardware store and just buy these. I just couldn't remember the length of them. And the fact that these are designed to be fit with this thick little strut support. Now, the reason for fitting these is the fact that you have stand a lot smaller chance of deforming your main strut here. Right, what I was going to do, yes, number one, what I like to do is I like to get a little bit of just universal grease, and I like to just give it a smear. I can feel the groove where the stand has been wearing on this, pretty normal, but I like to put a nice smear of grease on there. Not only does it make the paint last a tiny weeny bit longer, but it stops that horrible screeching, scraping noise when you put your stand up. Another place I like to put a little bit of grease is in the J-hooks. Now, if you've got separate J-hooks, then you've got a later Series 3. This one is the same as the early Series 3. And I like to put a smear of grease, liberal smear of grease on the inside of the J-hook here. Now, let's see if I can fit this stand, if everything goes to plan, because today seems to be one of those days where things don't go to plan. I also like to put a little smear of grease in the groove for the spring, both on the stand. Obviously, you can take away the excess once it's fit, both on the stand and up here on the strut. Just makes it go in a little bit easier, and it will prevent corrosion and horrible noises. Next job is to fit the stand buffer rubber. This one goes on here. This helps prevent you deform your footboards, because this rests on the footboards. Once the stand is on, boink, set it up, it smacks your footboard there. So it's a good idea to have that rubber there. This one is Casa, as incidentally is the stand feet. That's Casa lambretta. And then, what am I going to do now? Which order should I do it, Rob? Thinking. Right, what I normally do is get the spring. It's important, the orientation of the spring is pretty crucial, to be honest. I've seen a lot of these fit wrongly. And if you fit this wrongly, so if I fit it like this way on there, you can see that that is going to interfere with my strut. I've seen loads that have taken off paint on the strut. If you flip it like this, then it's not going to interfere with the strut. So I just hook that on there ready onto my, there you go. And you will find that's the reason why I clean up these holes, is that if you have excess paint on there, you won't be able to get the stand spring to sit in the groove properly. Get into the groove. Well, oh my goodness, isn't that Madonna? Okay, right, Rob, calm down. And then you've got the J-hooks, like so. This obviously is going to, multitasking, talking and doing at the same time, not my big forte. So you can offer these up to the holes. That's obviously way too high. Come down here. Thank you, sir. Get that spring out of the way. Line them up with the holes in the frame. And then, while you're holding that, this is like really, really hard. I've even done this with the engine and everything in the scooter. Just let me get out there. Get out. I should have done a bit of prep and took those out of the bag at least. Right, so I like to fit these with the washer on the outside, like so. Let's see if I can. Let's see if I can fit this without it dropping it, or mangling it. Push this through the hole. Where is the hole? Rob, where's the hole? It's there. There you go. And fit the plate. That is on the back side. Obviously can't see that. In the channel on the strut. Just wiggle it out a little bit. And then washer and nylock nut. I'm just going to fit this loosely, the one at the bottom. Now, what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to fit this before I even attempt to fit any of the bolts. So even with my fettle, it was a bit of a pain to get on there. And then I'm going to hook it on here. Oh, it's really stiff, man. Wow, what a pain. So what I have to do, I have to actually get the file out and widen this hole slightly, because I can't move the spring around in there free enough to be able to hook it on and then hook it on, if you get what I mean. Right, let's get the file out. Just let me adjust the camera a bit. It just goes to show that even if you're good at this stuff, or you think you're good at this stuff, anything can throw you a curveball. This is probably the hardest stand I've ever fit. Really, really strange. But anyway, what I ended up doing was I've filed the hole. As you can see, not enough because it's still standing a little bit proud on the top here. But you can see, at least see the orientation of the spring, which is correct, so that it doesn't rub on either the stand or the frame strut. So I've fit the lower bolt here, and as I did to start off with, but now I've got the spring in place, and I've threaded the top bolt through, and I think I'm going to give it a bit of a tap, just because what I'm doing now is I'm just sort of forcing it through. Give the screw a bit of a tap. And I have obviously the washer, then I have this reinforcement bracket on the back here, but I'm not getting it through enough to be able to fit my nylock nut. Almost. Let's see if I can give it a bit of a wiggle with my... The paint is quite tight here, actually. Let's see if I can just see if I can screw this through enough so that I can attach my nylock nut on the back side. Come on. So that's tight. Hopefully I can now remove this top bolt so I can fit my washer without it all springing back into place. Or should I try and put the stand up? Maybe. It's a bit tight, to tell you the truth. Get up there. There you go. Put the stand up. Then I can see... Oh, what a nightmare. I can see that the spring is still not flush in its groove there. There you go. It's in now. That probably won't wear itself back into place. It sort of reminds me of those instruction manuals you get with stuff, where it says, simply place on this screw. Thread this bolt here, and it's a lot more faffing about than you want it to be. Now I've got the washer in place. I can actually tighten that up again. And I think, to be honest, the best way of doing that is by letting the stand down again. There you go. I can see the spring is actually sitting in the groove, so that's good. I did fettle it, like I said, but just wasn't brutal enough with it. But yeah. Oh, hallelujah. So that was a bit of a pain, but that's always the first job I like to do on lambretta. This being the worst worst one I've ever had to do. I just cleaned up my dirty fingerprints, most of them, and no damage done to either the stand or the anything. No, no damage done to anything. Just make sure that the J clips, or whatever they're called, the little J's that hold the stand in place, are flush on the strut, which they are. And now I can flip it up and have something that might resemble a scooter. So let's be a little bit careful with this one, Rob, eh? There we go. She's up on her own merry 2 feet. If you want to hear more about this build, then carry on watching. If you don't, if you just wanted to see me struggle with the stand, then I'll see you later. Right, so the reason why I like to get it up on the stand is it makes it a lot easier to thread in the fork. Because that's going to be my next job. I like to fit the fork, and then I like to fit the engine. This paint, I have to say, this paint is absolutely adorable. It's super lush, super duper lush. I think I've got rid of most of my dirty fingerprints, and I haven't hurt any paint, which is always a bonus when it's not your own scooter. But what I have to do first is I have ordered a new crown race for the fork. I have built the fork. I'll give you a look at that. So this is the fork all built up. As you can see, the wheel sits true in the fork itself. That can be a bit of a pain. It's really important that when you're building forks that you measure the rods so that you know that they're, even if they're aftermarket, if not, especially if they're aftermarket, measure so that the rods are the same height, that the spring stops at the top are the same height, and before you fit your spring stops, make sure to measure that the brace in the fork is also the same height on both sides. If not, you have to shim it out. I didn't have to do it on this one. It all fit together perfectly. I used the GP type fork stops, the nylon bushes on the top. I have MB rods, stainless. I have the BGM 10% extra strong springs, which is probably good because this is the original drum. I have fit new tyres. These are, a lot of people ask me what these are. I use them on all my builds. They are the MC20s from Mitre. They are the Sava Monsoon, or whatever they want to call them. I really, really rate these. Brilliant if you ride in all weathers. And, oh, sorry, I'm dying, I think. And as you can see from the frame, let's have a look at the frame, if we can get it up there. Let me move the fork out of the way. Can you see it? There it is. I have fit the bottom cups in here, as I did do with all my builds. I wind them in with a big bar, and just threaded bar, and I just screw them into place. That worked out really good. Obviously, I'm removing the paint first. I've got this Series 3 type horn thing. I put that on because the rule is do a boring job first, do a fun job afterwards. So, yeah, that's the way that I'd build it. So that's why that's already on. But the problem I have is I was going to fit the lower fork race. Let me take that off. You can have a look at it. Whoops. And I was fitting the lower fork race, this one. And when I was knocking it into place, it actually snapped. It's probably really, really hard to see while it's off the scooter. But I have... It cracked. Can we see that? See if I can get it in focus. At the bottom there. Got a crack all the way through. So it splayed out when I put it onto the fork. Now this, there's absolutely no excuse for this. This is a Casa Lambretta item. This is completely original fork, and it has no paint on the bottom of the area where the race is supposed to hold. So this is definitely not oversized. So what I ended up having to do was order a new one of these and some other bits and bobs from MB in the UK. And I'm currently waiting for those. Otherwise, today, I would probably fit the fork and the most fun part, fitting the engine, because then suddenly it looks like a proper scooter. So that's about as far as I've got at the moment. Yeah, and shit happens. So there she is in all the glory. I love it when I get to this stage, even though it's we've got lots to do. But like I said, as soon as the race comes, it's fitting of the fork. And then I'll fettle around with the headset. I bought some new gadgets there, so I tighten it all up again. Fit the engine. Obviously, I have to do a bit of frame prep. I have to take out the paint where the cones sit. And I have to thread the shock mounting bolt. But I really like it when it's like this, because I sort of can imagine what it's going to be looking like when I get some more bits on there. I think what I'll do this evening when I turn off the camera is fit the rear mudguard. So that's already done. I don't like to fit the toolbox or the tank until I have routed the cables and that. And I can't really do that until the engine's in. And to get the engine in, I really want to get the fork on, because lifting it up with the engine in, trying to thread through the fork is a pain in the arse. But I've got loads of time on this. I don't really need to get it finished until the spring. But it's getting really, really cold in the garage. I can't really afford to have a massive heater in here, because as in the UK, the electricity prices have gone really high up. So I really do want to crack on with this. Apparently, the fork race I ordered from MB, that is coming in next week, already next week. What I wanted to ask you is, if there's anything you want me to show you on this, any sort of weird and wonderful request, just give me a shout before I crack on with it. There's one thing that's been requested lots and lots of times, and I'm going to actually tackle that, and that is the electrics. I'm going to show you how I plug in the electrics in the headset when you've got an ignition switch, because most of the other bikes I've done, apart from the TV 175 Series 3, I don't actually have an ignition switch, because theft isn't a big thing in Norway, and I never have it parked up out of my sight anyway. But on this, we're going to try and keep it as original, on the outside at least, as possible. So I'm going to be fitting an ignition switch to this, and we're going to wire it all up the headset. So that's something I'm going to do. Otherwise, I've got no requests. And if we don't get any requests, I'll be cracking on with it, and I'll just show you some progress along the way. I think something like that. Yeah. So don't forget, if you like this kind of stuff, don't forget to do the old thumbs up. And just want to say, 60% of my views are by people that are not subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, please do so. Maybe, with a little bit of luck, I only need another 250 subs, and I've hit the old 5,000 subs. What's it called? 5,000 subscribers mark, which is pretty cool. I mean, it doesn't mean anything special, really. I can't do anything more than I can do now, but yeah, it's a bit of a milestone, to tell you the truth. Anyway, I love you and leave you, and I'll see you all in the next one. Ta-ra!